So now we're actually going to hear more from the students, our young voices, those who represent the emerging leaders, those who will be taking the baton we are handing them, they are leading into the future. Do they often wonder what has already happened because we haven't cared for country? What has been lost and gained? What about new sources of power? Solar for the desert where the sun always shines. Is there a way forward? What ideas might work? What can we learn from the people who survived here for thousands of years so far, the Arende, looking after country? What can we do as a voice for our grandchildren? Lots of difficult questions, challenging questions, but ones that we've been discussing and hopefully working towards solutions for this week. So we're really grateful for the thoughts that will be shared with us this morning by some of these students about country, about caring for country and what it means to belong. So thanks very much, Jessie. I think you'll be...
Thanks, everyone. And well done again to the choir. You were so special. We're just setting up the stage. We're going to make it a little bit like the yarning circle that's been happening throughout this week. And could those students who are talking today please come and join me up on stage with your sheets.
Hello everyone, good morning, and we are the representatives of the Traeger choir from Our Lady of the Sacred Heart.
And today we'll talk to you about climate change.
We think that the young people and the young voices should be heard because one day we will grow up and we will become the leaders of the future.
As we did in our last performance, we sang a song about climate change. And music is a more exciting and more intriguing way to catch someone's attention, aka it can get stuck in their head. Plus, it can spread throughout the world faster.
So, check. Thank you. Thanks, Nico. So we just thought we'd open up a bit of a conversation this morning. I've got some questions that we've been talking about as a small group, and I guess I'm just going to pass the microphone around and we're just going to have a bit of a chat. Yeah. So the first question's quite broad. And obviously this theme is all about, this week is about climate change and you as the future generations. So what do you believe and how do you feel on this topic? Do you want to start, Irina? We might just go across.
How I feel on climate change, I feel like as humans and as people, we're taking too much from the earth. Like what we said earlier about how the Aboriginal people have lived here and survived for so many thousands of years. They sort of worked with the earth while we as humans are sort of taking too much from it to supply for our wants and needs. And I feel like we also need to give back to earth because it's our home and it's where we live.
I believe we can make a change soon before all the animals start running out of places to live, which are safe, because the animals as well need the earth. And I think we need to feel like we are not the only ones who live here, and we need to learn how to share the earth with all of the other animals.
Well, I think we're being quite, let me just phrase this, stupid and dumb, because like all the traditional owners, and they had their ways of like working throughout the land evenly and with like nature. But then us, we're just taking too much that we can actually fix. So we should get more renewable energies and yeah.
For me, I feel like the previous generation has taken so much from our planet and now it's up to us to fix it. but also the Aboriginal people here, they worked with the land and with the animals, and they only took what they needed to survive. They didn't take anything for their own wants, while we've been taking too much for our wants. So yeah, and I think if we don't change our ways now, it's going to be too late.
I believe that we should start learning to take what we need and not what we want, because we're starting to take way too much from the environment and more animals need it, and we kind of only need less.
Sorry, I realised I forgot to introduce these wonderful young women who are sitting with me up on stage. So we have Warina on the end here. Valerie. Gypsy, Sunvi, and Niven. It's not easy getting up on stage and speaking in front of a big group of strangers. I don't know if I would be able to speak so confidently in front of all these people sitting before you today at your age. So I'm already blown away as your music teacher. But I'm just going to take us back to some of these questions that Anne-Marie also wanted us to cover. We've sort of touched a little bit about what do you think has already happened because we haven't cared for country. Does anyone have anything that they want to extend on that point that we haven't already mentioned?
Because we haven't cared for country, it's not only scary for us as this generation, but also for our children and our grandchildren and next generations to come, because this is going to be their planet. This is going to be their home. And if it's completely destroyed, basically, it's going to be very hard for them to fix it. So we need to take action now, because there are things like sea level rising, there's deforestation, animals are losing their homes. They don't have good environments to live in. And there's so much stuff that's just been causing so much damage to the earth. And I feel like we have to stop that now before it proceeds to get worse.
I feel like in the future, some people will be looking back and thinking, maybe this is what the earth looked like, and they'll be wondering, how did we get to this place? And I feel like what has already happened has caused us to reach this point of realization. We realize what is actually happening and that we might need to fix it before it becomes irreversible.
Thank you very much, Warina and Valerie. Sunvi.
What I think has already happened because we haven't cared for our country is that we've lost so much glaciers and glaciers and ice countries like Antarctica, and we won't get them back because they've melted, and we can't get the glaciers back since they melted. There's no way to get them back. That's what I feel we've lost because we haven't cared for our country. We've also lost a lot of, we've been doing a lot of deforestation because we've been using so much paper. No matter what room you go into, if you look around, you can see so much paper, even in this room. Even I have paper here right now. So yeah.
Too much paper.
Yes, and I need to figure out a more paper-friendly resource. Cardboard. Whiteboards, yes, absolutely. Okay, I might just go on to what do you think about the new sources of power? This has been touched on a little bit, but does anyone want to extend on that a little bit more? What do you think about our renewable energies in particular? Does anyone want to speak about that? Verena.
I think this whole the new technology that we're making with solar power is definitely something that's helping, since we always use so much electricity because lights, refrigerators, electric stoves, and all that sort of, houseware. We use quite a lot of electricity, and using solar power, the power that we get from the sun, definitely helps us reduce this climate change.
I think we have gone through evolution and we have developed better technologies like the Tesla right now. It's being developed a rechargeable car instead of using the gas and the diesel, which actually pollutes the air. And I think we have the technology to go forward from there, take it a step further so that we completely get rid of the use of fossil fuels.
I think the renewable energy is quite good compared to the fossil fuels. The reason being we're actually collaborating with nature and our technology to actually make power instead of digging and digging, which are making quite a lot of, yeah. And yeah.
What I think is that we've been using geothermal energy, which is from using the heat energy from the volcanoes after they've erupted, which is a good way we can use the earth's sources to help us without, harming the earth. Another thing that we're doing really good on is recycling things and reusing them so they won't go to waste, like plastic. So yeah.
Some really wonderful comments there. I just want to bring this back to music. 2 weeks ago, we were very, very fortunate to have a special guest come and visit our choir. What was his name, Gypsy?
Paul Kelly.
Just casually, Paul Kelly came and joined us for a rehearsal, and he actually explained a little bit about writing Sleep Australia Sleep, the song. And they went up to Heron Island and to create the video clip that you saw. And I just wanted to ask Warina if you could tell us a little bit more about what Paul's ideas were behind writing Sleep Australia Sleep.
So, as you may have heard, one of the lyrics in the song is count down the little things, the insects and birds, count down the bigger things, the flocks and the herds. Paul Kelly right there is basically talking about how when we have some species dying out, like insects that are just small, that we might not realize that they're going, we are affecting a whole bunch of other animals, a whole variation of different species and different types of animals. Because birds feed on insects and other animals feed on birds, and it's like this whole big food chain. So it's almost like a ripple effect that happens when we lose a certain species or a certain type of animal. So he's talking about taking care for the earth, and as well as his lyrics where with acid seas rising and big cyclones pounding, talking about all the natural disasters that have happened because of us and because what we're doing to our planet. And so the song is spreading awareness to many other people, like some Paul Kelly fans and other people around Australia, that we need to take more action into climate change.
Also, on that note of counting down the little things, most of the time you never notice the little details of planet Earth. There are so many smaller species, so many small, we might think insignificant species, but they're actually very significant because of the entire ecosystem depends on each other, like the entire food chain, the food webs. And if we get rid of one species, like even a simple housefly, which billions die each day because they have a 24-hour lifespan, we can get rid of the food source for spiders, and it will go on like the entire ripple effect, and it will cause major catastrophes in the entire animal kingdom. And animals will start dying like they already have, and that will not be very good for planet Earth.
Just on music, why do you think music is so important, particularly for talking about these issues? I'm going to hand it over to this side. Why do you think I bring music into the classroom, with these songs that we've been studying? You want to say something? Have you got something in your brain?
I think music is important because it's really helpful in spreading messages, and lots of people enjoy listening to music, and it's good to think about what the lyrics mean and deeper meaning.
I feel like this is like especially goes out to the younger generations. They don't really want to listen to like a boring speech, um, a good long speech like that. But music, I feel like all ages love it, and it's a way that all ages connect. It's like a universal language. It also, like Niven said, has a deeper meaning. So that's why I think it really helps with topics like serious topics like this.
I like music because I like to annoy my friends because they get it stuck in their head. But a lot of the music that a lot of people listen to, they could have messages, like how the song that we sang before had a message about climate change. Then Boy George's ones were probably a message about how he looks. So
Fire. He's not the only one who writes about looks. Okay, so we're going to round this up very soon. But one really important question that I have for the 5 of you is, what can we learn from the people who survived here for 60,000 years so far, for looking after country? What can we learn from our First Nations people in going forward to the future and making sure that your children and your grandchildren are going to have a good life?
Like I said at the beginning, they worked with the earth. They didn't just keep taking and taking and taking for what they want and what they need. Because, well, now we're sort of taking more than we need. We take, for example, what Sandvi said earlier, the paper and, you know, that sort of thing, where the deforestation is happening and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. We're taking too much. We're taking too much from the earth. It's destroying animals' homes. They're having nowhere to go. And it is quite a serious topic. We're doing too much.
The First Nations people, other than surviving for a really long time, they learned so many things, because the older you get, the wiser you get, and they pass that down from generation to generation. And as human beings, as we evolved, we create newer and newer technologies. And I think in creating those technologies and the more constant coming up generations, we have lost touch of some of the things we didn't even need to improve, some things we didn't even need to add on to, like all this paper. Most of people think we need paper, but most of the times we don't really need paper. We have other things we can reuse. We've even created tablets which we can write on and reuse, and we don't have to throw them away all the time. So I think we can learn from all the First Nations people, because they lived at a simpler time when we didn't need all this. We're like overdoing it. And I think we should just calm down, have a think to the past, and learn from the wiser people.
Getting goosebumps up here. Do you want to add on to that?
Well, from the culture of Aranda people and all the other tribes, there's always a story on how they did it. Like what we just saw before on the big slideshow over there. It told us a story on how they checked the seasons and all that stuff. We didn't need technology for that. You could just look up to the stars, or you can just have a calendar. You don't need always electronics. Like, I can just speak like this right now. And I don't know why we need a microphone.
Some people don't have as good a hearing as you do, Gypsy.
So kind of go back to what Valerie said, the Aboriginal people have survived on this land for 60,000 years. And before the English came over, they didn't have weapons such as guns. They made spears and boomerangs to hunt and to protect themselves. But we've been making things that protect ourselves, but also harm the earth, like nuclear bombs. However, we don't need those things to protect ourselves. We can just use like things like spears or boomerangs made out of wood, like the Aboriginal people did.
I think we could learn to like put stuff back in the environment and take out what we need, and to learn to work with the environment and with the native animals, and not just taking everything away from them and making their life hard. Currently, what I'm doing by myself to help is I'm actually making an old milk bottle into a bird feeder, and I'm planting native plants in my front garden for like native animals to live in.
Wow. Well, I feel incredibly moved by these young people and their very valuable opinions. And I think that we should get young people up here like this more often. What do you reckon, David? So knowledgeable, so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Obviously, going into the future, we have a lot of thinking to do on what we are going to do, you know? And so maybe one just final comment from each of you on what, you know, thinking of your grandchildren, your future generations, what's one little thing, we've just heard from Niven, but what's one little thing that you think you might do? And then we'll finish off.
I think for the future generations, we need to stop things like fossil fuels and deep cut mining, basically digging up the earth and not replanting what we've destroyed and what we've taken out, because these are our homes, like houses. If people just came and destructed our homes and didn't rebuild them back, we'd be like, what? And so that's pretty much how the animals feel. We've just come in and taken almost everything away from them and left them with nothing in return, and it's had a big effect on them.
I think personally, on an individual level, we can do a lot because even a tiny difference can make a huge difference over time. We should reduce what we consume, and we shouldn't waste what we're going to use in future, because we still need to survive after this, and the future generations need to survive as well. We're not the only ones who are going to be needing food and water from Earth. And now rain is no longer safe anymore because of the acids and all the greenhouse gases. They're causing the rain to be full of acid and not drinkable anymore. It was our source of water, and now we no longer have it. There is no planet B. This is the only planet we get. And even if we go to Mars or something, we're still going to leave all the animals here, and they're going to be wondering what happened to the forest, what happened to the water. And they're just going to be like, so we survived meteors just for this, and everything's gone.
With trees, they're a bit special. The big tall gum trees at the front there are probably about 50 to 100 years old, but those little trees right there are probably about 25 years old. It's really hard to grow trees. Like, you can just put it right there, but it's going to take years upon years, like a very long time. And the same thing what Valerie said, there is no planet B. This is only the planet A. We don't have a plan B. We don't have a plan anything. We don't have bunkers big enough to hold all of us. Unless you want to dig a big hole.
For my future generations, I like to say that for any future generations, I like to say that I'm sorry we've taken too much from the earth. Yeah, and like one thing that I feel like we could all do is recycle. Like if we all, like everyone in the world, just pick up one piece of rubbish every day, that's nearly 8 billion pieces of rubbish gone from the earth every single day. That when one person does it, it doesn't seem like a big impact, but when everyone does it, it makes a really huge impact. So yeah.
Well, I think we could probably chat up here all day, couldn't we? But we might need to round it up now. I just wanted to thank these young women from Our Lady of the Sacred Heart Catholic College for speaking and sharing their voices today. And thank you so much to the Climate and Country Yarning Circle as part of the Song Festival for having us as well. I feel really blessed that we've been able to provide a platform for our young people to speak about their views and what they value. And I just also want to thank the Traeger Choir again for their beautiful performance of Sleep Australia Sleep. So can we just give another hand for these young people sitting in the room with us today?